Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lizard Brains podcast. I'm your host, DJ Allison Drini. I'm joined by my co-host, Tom O'Gorman. Tom, how are we doing?
I'm hungover.
Still? Me too.
Yeah, dude, I'm feeling it. The last episode for the One Lap stuff that we recorded was the day we got back, and I immediately went to Cincinnati the next day to see my family. So it just felt like a continuation of like,
One
I
lap?
got home late. Yeah, I recorded the podcast. I went to bed, and then I left again at 10 in the morning.
Yeah, that's basically one lap. Well, except leaving at 10 in the morning. That would be, you'd be real late.
And then it hit when I got home that night. That's when the hangover started to sink in. What about you?
Dude, it's pretty hard to adjust back to reality where you're like looking at computer screens and sending out emails that sometimes seem really important, but after one lap, it all just seems pointless, Tom.
Yeah. I was curious to hear your take because I don't have a real life, like a normal life. So I typically get to take a couple days off. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Is it as bad as everyone always says it is? Because typically I was either seeing nobody or I went back to Wisconsin where like none of them have real lives either, or real, like they all work for themselves.
I think it's like more like there's just like this dopamine depravity that's happening. Like you spend how long is one lap? Like 8 days, basically. Yeah, it's 8 days of like pretty solid dopamine hits every single day, and then you go right into like no dopamine, and it's just it kind of like hits you like a slap almost. So yeah, that's you know what helps me through that is the good old sim rig.
I was gonna say I saw you posted a picture from the sim rig like the next day. I was like, oh, he's scratching at the walls for the dopamine after one day. Oh no.
Good news is it's the Porsche Cup car is at Nürburgring on iRacing this week. So
oh, thank God.
Yeah,
oh.
I'm like, oh, they knew it was right after one lap. They were gonna give me something. So
you had something to look forward to. Look, they got you through one lap, really. I think probably kept you going.
What? Oh, knowing that was
knowing
on
that
the
you
other
could look
side.
forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, once we're finally done with one lap, I can go drive the Porsche Cup on Nürburgring and iRacing.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you feel any residual like Porsche like seat on you when you get back in the sim when you drive more Porsches? Do you feel like it translated at all, or
what translated is I realized that like my seating position in the rig is completely wrong for a GT4 Cayman. Like the way my screen lines up with how I would actually be sitting and like where my feet would be and like my hands and the positioning of the seat is like I would have to like completely change my whole rig to have like a GT4 car seating position.
Sure.
Yeah. Like right now it's
get working.
Right now it's kind of like I think if you sat in a Miata and you sat in my rig, it would probably feel very similar. But sitting in Miata and sitting in a Porsche, it's not the same seating position. So
well, sure, because you are sitting in your Integra seat, not a Porsche seat.
Well, no. I'm just saying, like, the relationship of, like, where your feet are.
I know what you mean.
Like, a Corvette is very flat. Like, your like, the seat is, like, basically on the ground, and your, like, legs are kind of, like, straight out, right?
Like a Lego guy.
Yeah. Yes, exactly like a Lego guy.
Right. Accurate.
I love that so much. I literally, my brain instantly went to like a Lego movie doing one lap.
Wait, why'd you say Corvette? Did you mean Corvette or did you mean Porsche?
I meant Corvette because it's just like it's the most extreme example of like my feet being straight out in front of me.
Sure.
Like the Corvette,
gotcha.
I'd say like the Porsche was like somewhere in between the Corvette and a Miata, like with how you're sitting in the car.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, guys, we obviously saw each other every day for a week and a half straight, and
so
we
Tom,
also
let's catch up.
we've been like 3 days back to life since the last time we talked. So our plan is to catch up on some emails, maybe do a little bit of one lap wrap up, but I think it's safe to say neither of us have like a ton of gas in the tank or new fun stories to talk about really in this 1 week.
I mean,
or 3 days. What has it been?
I will say I've had an interesting challenge of like explaining what one lap is to people that are like wondering where I was for the week.
Yeah.
And it's hard to explain it without it sounding made up. essentially.
or or really dinky. Do you know what I mean? Like it sounds it's both unfathomable, it's hard to wrap your head around, but it also kind of sounds rinky dink when you're like, "Here, we just drive on the road to the next racetrack." And then we like have to drive the same car. Like I don't know, it doesn't it's like autocross. Trying to describe autocross is just
Yeah.
not it sounds dinky. It sounds like okay,
Yeah,
cool, you got to drive around
okay.
a parking lot.
Wow, you spent the whole week doing that? That's weird. Okay.
Yeah.
You gonna get me that
Yeah.
report that you promised me?
Did you get your elevator pitch down yet?
No, I don't have it down. I want to
Hmm.
hear what Tom's elevator pitch is for one lap.
It's not good. It's because I only get to practice it once a year. It's something like we drive to a different racetrack every day of the week, and we have to use the same car on the same tires all week with no support, and we get scored at every track we go to. I don't know.
And then we add it up at the end of the week like putt putt.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, I know putt putt." And then they start
Yeah.
telling their favorite putt putt story and you're like, "Okay, yep, that's where that went."
That's kind of how I felt at the family dinner or the family function the next day because it's so obscure to talk about. Plus, my parents, the ones who are most interested are my parents, and they were like listening to the episodes of the podcast, I think. So I had no new stories for them, and the rest of them are just like, "You did what? Okay, back to talking about our future baby."
I will say that the reception of our one lap episodes was
Mhm.
killer. We got
Dude, you know what? Real quick,
we
we need
like
to negotiate with Brock.
quadrupled our weekly downloads in just that one week. Obviously, it helps having like multiple episodes, but like we've never seen that many downloads in like a single week. There was people talking about it. Um,
Mhm.
like not to us. I would just like find it randomly on the internet. Like it was cool. So it we'll have to find other things where we do episodic like uh like mini episodes on. And did you listen back to them, Tom? Because I was listening back trying to get some like reoccurring dopamine hits on the one lap.
I listened every day when we were in the car because
Oh,
Salil
that's
wanted to
right.
listen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh I I like that kind of punchy, like shorter, like high energy because like we're in front of each other, right? That helps.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely. I was gonna say we need to negotiate with Brock on some sort of like um what do they call it? Commission for the new people who do it next year because we made it sound so fun.
Oh, absolutely. I've heard from so many people that are like, "Yep, doing it next year." Like,
It-
I'm willing to bet. So I've probably heard from like 10 different people. We get 4 of them, right?
I'll bet one. I bet one new person does it partially due to motivation from listening to our podcast.
Okay. All right.
We weren't the originator of the idea. They've already been thinking of it, and then we sold them on the final like
Yeah,
you got to do it.
we pushed them across.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Bet, shake. There you go. Perfect.
Do,
Um,
do you think that'll get us a discount on a pass next year?
it might get us
The
a higher number.
referral? The referral? Well, here's the thing is they like basically sell out every year, right? Like what's the capacity of it?
It's 85 cars, I think, is the max capacity, and they sell out every year early. They have the same problem Grid Life does, where everyone just like enters and throws all their like entries in right when it opens, so they can get on the wait list. And then like this year, the wait list filtered all the way through, and I think there were only 77 cars or something.
Yeah. So
The
if
only year that I know of that it was absolutely full and the wait list didn't get full taken away, I think was either 2 years ago or the year before that because it was COVID, and they didn't do it during COVID. So there was
Gotcha.
like 2 years of anticipation built up.
All right. So yeah, that makes sense because they're like, and everyone was flush with cash. Like everyone just had just a little bit more money 2 years ago. So, um,
Right.
so that makes sense. So, uh, yeah. So if you want to do one lap, you can just go do it. Essentially, like yeah, you
Yeah.
might be on the wait list, but like just plan on doing it.
Pretty much. I know of one guy that year that the wait list got filtered out really last minute. He like got notified on the Tuesday beforehand that he could go, and he was in South Bend on Friday.
Oh, that guy's a legend.
He had like a 3-day notice. He was in a Ferrari. He was in some sort of Ferrari.
Did he have like? Wait. Okay, so
I don't
Steve
remember
was
what
there
Ferrari
this.
that was.
Yeah, Steve was there this year in a Ferrari, but that's not really a Ferrari that can like win the thing.
No, he was in a similar Ferrari to that. I
Oh,
wanna say it was
gotcha.
like a 599 or something.
Oh,
Like, it
yeah,
was
yeah,
one of the
yeah.
front engine ones.
Yep. Man, has anybody brought like a 458 or a 488 or like any of like the like pinnacle Ferraris?
I don't know. They
Because
have to
like
have at some
the
point.
the Porsches are doing really well, but like a Ferrari would absolutely kind of. You don't think it would?
I think Ferrari tricked you into thinking they're like a better track car than a Porsche.
Look, I just know driving in Assetto Corsa, the Ferraris were more fun to drive.
They sound better. I'll give you that.
Well, okay, all right, hold on. Uh, stock car. This is getting a little car guy, but stock car from factory. What cars do you think could win one lap?
That's it's kind of a long but boring conversation because you have to do like the conversation or the intersection of cars that can fit usable tires. So tire sizing is so important to the
Yeah,
discussion of what cars could be competitive.
that's
But
true.
I
That's
do
true.
think like any of the current pinnacle Porsches and 992 or 992s, yeah. The GT2, GT3, and GT4s could all win on their like best size tires. The GT4 would have to be on 200 treadwear though, like Bridgestone, and then the GT3 RS or like a GT2 RS would have to be on like full size 300 treadwear and just make up for it by being crazy.
Okay. You
That's what I think.
you don't think like well, okay, I don't know if McLarens have a steel brake option because that's the thing with the Porsche is they always have the smaller steel brake option so you can put different wheels and stuff on the car. But I don't
Yeah.
think like a McLaren has that option. I don't think a Ferrari has that option.
Andy Hollis got custom wheels made for his McLaren and he was always in the hunt.
Yeah.
But I know that I know that he restrains himself when he's not super 1000% confident in that car. Uh, at the certain tracks at that car. So he would always do a ton of recon with that car just to make sure he was comfortable
Yeah.
because it's such an expensive car that's like kind of hard to drive.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
if you were like going to swing for the fences every day, like risk be gone, in a McLaren, you could probably win overall.
You hear that, Andy Hollis?
Instead of being like, maybe I should lift before this like blind crest on this track I don't know that well,
Oh, yeah,
something
I
like
mean,
that.
that sounds like a good idea. Or
Or the
or
rain,
or when you were 140 at Apex in the kink in the or in the Porsche GT3.
right?
That's still wild. I'm
I'm gonna post that video soon.
okay, good because I want to see him. Peter is sending me the SD card with all my videos because I forgot to grab it from him.
Oh, right, out of the little camera thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm proud to announce that I have GoPro video from every track except for one, and I don't remember which one now. Oh, pit race in the full wet. I don't have that video. Sorry.
Oh, Tom's keeping his trade secrets. He's keeping the spot where he
Yeah.
cut out the south track.
Yeah.
How did he
You just
set
go
those
straight through the S's. You
times?
can straight line it just like that racing game in Coda.
Yeah, I'll make the
That
I'll make the thumbnail impression for you, Tom. How did he do those times? Insane.
looked like Illuminati.
Well, it's because I went to put my hands up on my head, and then the mic got in the way. So then it was like I was doing the Macarena or something over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
what is all right? Well, you wanted to talk about takeaways from one lap.
Maybe I was gonna ask if we could do you think you could like live spitball some version of like peaks and valleys or like takeaways from the week? Like driving takeaways, not like we've talked enough about one lap itself, but like
Yeah,
the driver aspect of one lap.
I
I have
think
a couple little thoughts, but I'm also going fresh, like spitballing.
okay. I have some ideas for the event that I think would be cool. Um, I think it would be cool if there was like a percentage of needed participation from both drivers in the car. Because to me that would be more interesting than just like somebody that throws fast driver in car and then like they only do the transits. Tom's smiling because he's like, "Oh shit, that's me." Um,
Yeah. Oops.
but I just think
Sorry.
I think it would be more interesting, and then like the car owners who do like pair up with a fast driver, like it's in their best interest to like work throughout the year to try to get better at these racetracks that you're going to go to. Like it's like a whole year process getting ready for like one lap instead of like show up with fast driver with a bunch of experience at these racetracks. Like this year, all the tracks that I drove at besides Hastings, I've had plenty of experience at. But whatever the tracks are next year, if I get to do it, I might not necessarily have experience at those racetracks. So like the part of one lap is like that recon, getting out to practice and like have like deliberate practice on those racetracks, not just like bum around during HPDE, but like do practice, look at data, like find lap time, right? Like to me, that's how you like spread out one lap to be like a year activity of fun is because you're preparing and prepping for one lap rather than just show up and like drive it, which is basically kind of like what I did this year. Besides when we went to CMP just so I could drive a Cayman. But like that aspect of and even if it is just like car owner fast driver, like the fast driver is still like maybe you set it at like 3 events, like the is the lowest amount of participation that can happen, right? So that means that there's at least 1.5 racetracks if you do it just by sessions that the car owner would have to be sufficient at, right? To then to see where everything stacks up in the results. So it would entice the car owner to work with the fast driver to like up their game. I think it would just be good for like the whole thing. And I get why Brock would be like, let's leave it how it is because it gives a lot of flexibility for how people want to enjoy one lap. And my idea will most likely never be adopted. I just think it would be cool. I was daydreaming about it.
No, I think you have something there. So 2 points. I think they would be. I bet you could build an equation almost to like if the drivers split 50-50, it's worth an extra like bonus points, even
Oh,
if
that
it's
would be
like 10
cool.
points or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Like make it a small amount, but it's enough to incentivize both people to drive. But to counter your point, I think it's most of one like it'd be very interesting to poll everybody first of all to see how much recon everybody does because I get the impression that recon's not very common
I think it's common in
except
the
for
top
like
10.
the try hard like top even top 5 maybe teams. Like I don't think even the guys with like Michelin, they're not allowed to do recon. The guys from Hart, I don't think they do hardly any recon. So there's teams from the top 10 that don't even do any recon. I think that's fairly uncommon, but becoming more common recently is my impression. But then also the driver split, like our scenario where we have a friend who owns a car and wants to do the event. So they invite us. I think you're overselling or overstating that people bring in like fast drivers and car owners like pro racing. Like I don't think very many people are doing that except barely you and me really. So you can't make it around like the car owner and the driver
Yeah, true.
dynamic. It would just be like a driver split. Like did both teammates drive equally? Here's an extra 20 bonus points. If both teammates drove
And
5 segments, then here's 10 bonus points,
yeah,
you know.
I think yeah, I like that idea because and the reason why I bring that up is I forget who's talking about it, but they were talking about like the history of people who have won one lap. And most of the time, it's been just a transit driver and somebody fast.
That's true. That is true. I think the number of people who do that is very low, but I think it ends up pretty high success rate.
Right. So, and I get why because you're just dialed in the car. You're just gonna be more consistent. You get 2 of each. And if you like split the tracks, so like somebody does morning and then somebody does afternoon, that's like eligible for more bonus points, right? Because that's like
Yeah.
at a disadvantage, right? But everyone gets like you incentivize everyone experiencing all the things, right? Because like
Yeah.
that's the thing that I took away from one lap is that it was more than just a competition, it was an adventure. And you're on an adventure with all these other people. I don't know. I think I've been on an adventure with like Christine. I think I went on some adventures like just out of like when I was traveling the country competing in Halo, those felt like some kind of adventure sometimes because it was, the first road trips I've ever taken where it's like, 14 hours away or whatever. Those felt like adventures. I didn't realize how long it's been since I went on something that felt like an adventure until I was doing one lap and I was like, this like just the adventure of it is so much fun. And
Yeah.
there's nothing else that I've done recently except like when I went to Hawaii with Christine, and we went off the path where there was a bunch of signs saying don't go off the path, and we went off the path and like wandered into the jungle. Like that felt like an adventure, but that might be the last time where I it felt like I was going on an adventure, and I was doing it in a car. I don't know if there's any other forms of, at least on pavement, forms of motorsports where it feels like an adventure, quite like One Lap did.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also think it feels a lot like a retreat. Almost, did you ever go on like retreats when you were in school, or was that like a Catholic school thing?
That must have been a Catholic school thing. I went
Okay.
to
Um,
I went to Disney World with the marching band. I don't know if that was a retreat though.
It kinda counts. You know how everyone like, by the end, it's like all kumbaya, you feel like you did the same thing
Yeah,
together with
yeah,
everybody.
yep,
So retreats are a lot like that, but you have to talk about your feelings too. And I remember going on a couple retreats, and one lap sort of feels like that by the end, especially with your core group.
yeah,
So, like, your core group that you have dinner with when you can and stuff. I really wish I'm still 4 years in, and I think about this at the end of every one, and I forget by the beginning of the next, to, like, try to meet more people that are not around where I run. Because I feel like one lap creates these little cliques that are just organic by everyone here is in the top 15. So you're kind of near each other all week. And then I don't end up meeting anybody from like group 6,
yeah.
where I'm like, I remember watching a pit race or one of the days. No, maybe the skid pad. And there were like 2 or 3 cars that I didn't even know were in the event until the very end. I'm like, man, that shouldn't be able to happen. I wish they would like mix us up somehow, or I wish there was some reason for me to meet, because other people that are not organically around us. Because there was this guy, this husband and wife couple, um, Bill and Alicia Rogerson. They did the event last year, and they ended up finishing third because they ran 300 treadwear, and it was raining a lot and stuff. So he like did really well in the wet, but he also qualified like group 4, I think 3 or 4. So if it was like a super dry year or whatever reason, he wasn't necessarily like going to be a person that I interacted with in like one of the front run groups. But because he was like elevated by doing really well throughout the week, I guess like maybe he was just a new person that would have done there anyway. Maybe I'm making too much about that, but we had dinner with them a couple times. They ended up being like amazing people to talk to, and I really enjoyed meeting them. I'm like, I don't know if I would have met them every year at one lap, and who am I missing that I don't meet because I don't make a point to just go walk around and say hi to people.
Yeah, almost like, in the
I
in
bet that happens a lot
between.
in motorsports in general.
Yeah, I bet it does.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's almost like in the in between, the morning and the afternoon sessions, there's, like, something that incentivizes, like, social interaction outside of, like, the people that you're paddocked or, like, competing with.
Yeah.
Because
Or
everyone
run
I was
like
talking
inverse order
to were
some track or something.
yeah, everyone I
Uh,
was talking to was, like, basically in the top 10, or I knew them from grid life, right?
yeah.
So when it came to meeting new people, I mean, I did meet some new people, but I could have met way more new people, and that would have probably been, um, like, really beneficial just to know that many extra people, like, going into the future.
What did you think of the dynamic trying to get everybody to dinner at the same days? Have you dealt with that before? Or
Well,
in the same group, not the same day?
it's at One Lap, it's tough to get everyone to go to dinner because we're all driving different speeds on the highway. We all left the events at different times. We're all getting in at like different times. Sometimes we're staying in different cities, like on like different
Yeah.
sides of the racetrack.
But also the mixed groups of people, because like you and Peter have pretty separate groups of people in your lives, but you and Peter come together for one lap and you're each other's person for the week. And the same goes for like Salil has all these friends from Colorado that I don't know as well, but I have all these friends from autocross that I know really well. So like he wants to get dinner with them. I want to get dinner with them. So we just invite everybody. You know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about?
Yeah. Okay. I get what you're saying now.
Like that's the dynamic where you meet these people and you're like, oh, this is really cool. I like this person. I never would have met them if they weren't teamed with my friend or something.
Yeah.
I enjoy that aspect when there's like a new person that shows up. You're like, I want to
Yeah. You're like,
like,
that's an
what's
interesting
your
person.
story?
I want to, yeah. I feel like I need to know more about this person. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
Um, I forget where I was going with that, but yeah, one lap is like a retreat and like an adventure.
it is. And I, I I don't know what other motorsports things actually make it like feel like that. I think that was probably like the coolest part of One Lap.
Yeah. Did you have any like driving takeaways? I can think of like a couple for myself.
Uh, my one of my takeaways was uh that I need to figure out in the wet, like when I'm driving a car, what end is going to break away most likely first, in like some kind of sustained corner, and then once I figure that out, I'll be um much I will come up to speed on an unfamiliar track in an unfamiliar car. It's been years for me where my rule for driving other people's cars was if it's an unfamiliar car on an unfamiliar track and it's raining, I'll just pass, right? Because it's like all those things together. It's just like it's just gonna it's too many things at once where it's just the risk is not worth it. If it's an
Yeah,
unfamiliar car at an unfamiliar track and it's dry, then like we're good. Um, but you like throw the wet in there, unfamiliar two things, then I don't want anything to do with it. Now, if it was mid Ohio and it was wet and it was an unfamiliar car, I'd feel fine with that because I know that track really well, right?
yeah.
So at one lap, I didn't have that choice. Um, hey, good thing Hastings wasn't wet, or I would have just been like, "Well, here we go."
Yeah.
But NCM and Pit Race, I'm both pretty familiar with both of those tracks, but I've never driven those tracks in the wet before, so they were a little bit of a mystery of how they were going to act. Turns out they were like had way more grip than you actually would expect them. So I take that into the future, knowing I thought they would be a little bit more slippery online because it's not like they've had a repave like in the last 5 years.
I was gonna say whatever pavement, especially pit race used, because that track was repaved all at the same time when I was working track night. So it's been close to 10 years now that it's not been paved, I think. At least 7 or 8. And it's got no rain line, no drainage problems. Like it's amazing. So whatever everyone should just use that pavement.
Yeah, it had like. Did you see any puddles? I don't remember
um
any puddles at Pit Race.
no, there was uh there was a little bit of water pooling in the curb of the kink when
Right.
I was running in the rain.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like in the active rain, but not on the track, no.
yeah. So
Damn,
yeah,
top tip. I like that also. We should add that to the actual art of racing in the rain. Like do something to induce which end is gonna break first. I like that a lot.
that was my main takeaway driving in the wet. Um, and then the other takeaway that I really didn't get nailed down until Pit Race was how much at least Peter's car in particular, how much it changed from lap 1, 2, and 3. Like the car was like different every single lap. Lap 1 it was a little pushy, lap 2 it was really good, lap 3 it was a little like it was a little loose, and then dialing in exactly like the shapes of corners that the car wanted to make to create a lap time would like change throughout the session. And it took me until like the third time driving the car for that week to like really be able to dial that in where I set like similar lap times on the second and third one. Granted, I did make a mistake on the second lap. Um, but I wish I would have been able to dial that in a little faster, and then I think I could have. I don't know if I would have actually placed any higher because I always had a decent gap from. I kept getting fourth, and third was like 2 seconds in front of me. So a little minuscule change for the third lap wasn't really going to change anything, but it's just that was just something I was thinking about is how I need to notice the behavior of the car changing throughout the lap and then apply that more effectively, like as the laps go on.
Yeah, I think that's a really specific to one lap skill almost. Because what other even wheel to wheel, you don't really pay attention to the car changing lap to lap anywhere near as much as you have to when you're driving like a street car on a racetrack for
Yeah.
3 consecutive timed laps that you don't get a break or you don't get to reset. But have to like adjust in real time, especially on street tires. Like that's definitely a very
Uh,
specific skill.
Especially like it, the tracks were familiar, but that car on that track was not familiar. So you're not entirely sure exactly. You're taking a lot of assumptions with how things are going to play out, and the assumptions are 99.9% correct, but like it's not like you've done a bunch of laps in that car at that racetrack, so like you don't exactly know, um, like third lap, like where to break for this thing. Like you have a good idea, but like it's not like solidified. It's not solid exactly what you're going to do. Like like if one lap went to CMP, then I understand exactly like how the car is going to change because I did a track day there where like I got a ton of sessions and a ton of laps in the car. Um, so like you kind of understand how the car changes and how it will apply to the track. But you go to new tracks that you haven't driven in that car before, then yeah, it's a little bit of a mystery. That was
Yeah.
the format of one lap. I know there was somebody there that was talking about potentially incorporating that into their events. Um, the 3 lap, uh, like all the lap times added together, I really like that format. It was just such a solid format for, I think like competition and because like a lot of times like at like time attack or time trial events, you go out, you do 1, maybe 2 laps, and then you're done, right? And you don't. There's no reason to do more laps than that, but you like incorporate that like needed third lap, and it's all those laps like matter together. I don't know. I think that'd be pretty fun.
I agree. I wish that Time Attack incorporated that because it's so much more impressive to do it. They should at minimum have like you have to do at least 3 or 4 sessions over the 6 available to you, and then we're going to average all your best times or something. Like
Something.
incentivize driving. But also, I spaced on the first part. I had a point about the first part.
Did you cross your
Three
fingers?
laps. I just did now, and I can't remember it.
Oh no.
Uh, it'll come back.
What? It was something I said that like brought it up.
Yeah, something about the 3 lap format.
Oh, I said somebody that was there that was talking about it.
No, it was right before that. It's okay. It wasn't that good if it
If it never
left
comes
that
back,
quickly.
yeah, it didn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
So what were the
Um, I
takeaways that you had with driving?
I don't know why this stood out to me more than ever before. I don't like it's not like I learned anything brand new, but certain things stood out to me over the week. And one of them was like knowing that if I got a little deep on the brakes in the Porsche specifically, that the push would end up in an oversteer right after. And like planning ahead for that management to know that like if I'm just because it happens regularly when you're driving 10/10ths with like no practice. You're just like a little deep in the corner and I have to stay on the brake a little bit longer just to get the car to slow down just a little bit more. But as soon as I come off the brake, specifically the 911 is going to like way over rotate. Just so like anticipating that to minimize the damage. I've never paid attention to that with other cars, but I think it happens to an extent with all cars. And if you can incorporate the understanding of like I've overshot this corner long enough that I got to stay on the brake a little bit longer. That when I come off the brake, the car is going to go from push to loose, probably as the weight like falls across the outside
Yeah,
to the rear. That stood out to me a lot more this year in the Porsche, probably because we drove it a lot more in the dry this year than last year.
I was gonna say that. Yeah.
Um, but even obviously, even in the wet, I noticed that I got a little deep one of the laps in the wet at pit race, I think, somewhere, and I had to like stay on the brake longer, come off the brake, and the whole car like went into a flat slide. But I didn't have like a big moment. I was actually really proud. I didn't have any like big moments. This not like I ever do, but I
I
feel like
almost
we're
didn't die.
not ever, not like I usually do on one lap. Let me clarify that. It's not like I'm going through every one lap with one big scary like holy shit moment. But I can think of a couple, and I didn't have one this year. That was pretty good.
Um, I will say so. When I would watch, it's always fun if you find like a really good corner to watch, and you see like how everyone's taking it a little bit different.
Yeah.
The way you were different from everyone else that I could see at Putnam into the last corner is as you would like come off the brakes to like release the car into the last corner, your car would pivot so much faster than everyone else's. So you would get a better angle sooner. So like the angle of the car was better, quicker at earlier into the corner. So you could commit into throttle sooner and harder than other people,
Mm.
which would then lead into a more effective straightaway. Other people that were like in the top 5, top 10, wherever the people ended up that I was watching, they would have a glide into the corner, so they were doing well, but it was like it was slow. The pivot was slower than it could have been, so their throttle was a tiny bit delayed. It was fun, like watching that little nuance. Me and Salil were in the grandstands, and I was like pointing it out, and we were like talking about it. I was like, and you know what sucked? The third lap, your pivot was just as slow as everyone else's. So I was like, I saw the first lap, and I was like, oh, like I like saw it, but I didn't point it out. And then the second one, I pointed it out, but Sulil missed it. And then the third one, I was like, watch it. You'll see right at this moment. And then it didn't happen. I was like, I swear it happened the other times.
Yeah. That's how you secure a solid 4th place finish. It's just
Is that what you
nailing
ended
that
up getting
pivot.
at
No, but I
Putnam?
think that Huh?
Is that what you got at Putnam? I forget. Fourth? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that's a perfect, like, real life example of my description that I tell people a lot that's so hard to, like, actually make sense of, is that if you can ask the car to do things, like, for a moment that it can't sustain, but it can handle because of weight transfer in 1 split second, you're gonna find little extra bits of time, especially on autocross, but on road course too. If you can find little ways to, like, create a weight transfer that shoves the tire into the ground a little bit harder or changes the direction of the car just a little bit quicker, or something that aims you to the exit just a little bit more by overexerting the car, but it's only for such a short period of time that the car comes right back and you've anticipated all of that. Versus if I were to, like, ask the car to rotate like that all the time, it would just push, you know?
Yeah. Or
So
or it
you're
would just
you're
turn
vis
into,
you're
you would just have to be catching the car. Like, right, like
right.
if you had that pivot and then got into, throttle a split second later, it would just turn into you catching the car. It wouldn't actually turn into you putting power into the ground, right?
Right.
But the speed of the pivot matched with your anticipation of getting on throttle to leave the corner plants the rear into the ground, it slows down the pivot, everything's good. You glide it on out.
Yep. Yeah, that's a perfect, like, visualization. I wish I have it on camera from in car, so maybe you'll be able to see it there, but I love seeing those moments from outside the car because it's, like, the perfect example of what I've been trying to say to people for, like, 5 years, but my verbal description of it is not good enough to, like, truly make the point. Like, you need to feel it or maybe see it to have it, like, make sense.
I think feeling it from the right seat is probably what's gonna make the most amount of sense.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I miss driving people's cars for the sake of, like, coaching more often. I I'm hoping to do that more this summer.
I enjoyed taking Peter out in his own car with him sitting in the right seat so much. That is so much fun.
Yeah. Wait, did he say the cliche thing? "I've never sat over here before."
No, he didn't say that.
People say that to me all the time. I'm like, "Yeah, I guess you would never have a reason to be over there."
I remember, when you drove my car and I was sitting in the right seat and I was like, oh wait, no, I didn't sit in the right seat in my car.
Camaro, probably.
Yeah. Oh no, you drove my Miata at some point, and I was sitting in the right seat, and was like, I had the same. I didn't say it out loud, but I had the same thought. So I think Peter probably thought it. Maybe he just didn't say it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or he has sat in the right seat because Peter's very generous with like, come on, drive the Cayman, right? So
true.
maybe he sat there before. But but yeah, it's just fun taking somebody else out in their own car.
I made a note the night we were out to dinner about, it was really interesting listening to everyone at the table talk about how they pick up, um, new tracks and how they, like, establish their learning curve or where they feel they're on the learning curve
Yeah.
of learning a new track, and I wish I could remember the specific story that made me write that down, but it's still an interesting thing to think about, like, how everybody's taking in a new track a different way of the same track on the same day, like, in their own cars. I really wish it was like Dave Marcus and Mike King and all them. I really wish I could remember the specific anecdote that made me write that down. Um,
What do you mean by learning curve?
like they were talking about how they had a learning curve for the tracks, and they were talking about how it was so impressive when certain cars were faster on their first lap from a standstill than they were even on their third, because that meant they were, like, ready to go right away on their very first
Oh,
lap versus
gotcha.
other drivers who were, like, picking up 2 seconds per lap because they were still on their learning curve.
Yeah.
Or how to like, we didn't even really talk about how to minimize that, but it was just interesting to hear. We were all drivers who were super experienced at the table, and some people were still saying, like, I feel like I'm still on the learning curve with that track versus other tracks. This is a bad podcast story because I don't have a payoff, but I wrote that
Well,
down remembering,
I I
like,
f
it was interesting to hear that.
I feel like I'm on a learning curve with basically every racetrack that I go to, depending unless I've done a million laps in that specific car at that racetrack, then, then at that point you're just dealing with like nuances.
Yeah.
But every lap I did during one lap, it felt like I was on some kind of a bit of learning curve, whether it was like learning exactly how the car's reacting or trying to dial in a part of the racetrack that I felt like I left some margin that didn't need to be there, stuff like that, right? So um
Yeah.
I had a mistake at Hastings, where I felt like I wasn't opening up the corner before these S's enough, and when I pivoted the car in, I dropped the outside rear tire in the grass, and it wasn't iRacing, so I didn't die immediately, but I still had to catch the car. So that cost me like 8 tenths, right? So that was like, oh crap, if I had a fourth lap, I guarantee I wouldn't do that again. But like as I was amping it up, I dropped like a half a tire in the grass and it cost me some time.
How did that go, having such a focus on optimal during the format of one lap?
Dude, I'm telling you, focusing on the optimal is like the way to go because you get like the instantaneous like feedback. Like my second lap ever at Hastings was my best turn 4. I couldn't recreate that. But every single time I went through, I was like having a little bit of a report card of how it went in comparison to the second time where I just like managed to get it right. So like I was closer than I would have been otherwise because I knew that second ever lap there was my best time through turn 4. So I had a more of a um like a reference of exactly what I needed to do to extract like the maximum out of turn 4. Hastings turn 4 is the fastest corner on the racetrack, and you're not really I'm explaining it for anybody listening. You barely touch the brakes when you go into the corner. So it's like I don't know, it's like a 90-ish miles an hour corner. And it's kind of narrow, but you can go really fast. So I knew there was gonna be a lot of time to gain there just from the recon I did via like the sim racing. So on my outlap, I did, like tried to dial in the references, and then um, yeah. But the optimal was like super useful for understanding like per section on the racetrack how like the time I did it well compared to this time, and there was like immediate takeaways. If it was just best lap, then I I would only get the best like the best time around, and then whatever my speed was for each section there, I wouldn't get like that granularity of the takeaways from each section of the racetrack.
So you're just, well, the reason I brought it up is I was curious if it would be distracting at all because you were so fixated on that being an option for you to have visually. Did you ever feel like it distracted you?
Nope.
I'm gonna remember why.
I think it's I think it's just because that's how I learn tracks in iRacing. So it's like a muscle memory thing where if I'm learning
Yeah.
a track in iRacing, it's always optimal. So I just like I have like my own butt dyno that tells me how I did in the corner, and then I give a quick look over at the timer and go like, does it agree? And if it's yes, then I'm like, cool. Like I'm dialed into like what I think is fast. And if it's the same or whatever, then I go, okay, cool. That corner, like as long as I'm at the limit of adhesion, it doesn't matter, right? So like I take that information away just by having like that optimal timer in the car.
I think I do the same thing. I just do the mental math on the predictive. Like if I'm down
I could
three
see that.
tenths, but then I have a really good corner, and now it's only 1/10, then I know that that was a good corner.
Yeah,
So I tried to. I was a little more the 2 years in the Corvette. I didn't have any sort of timing in the car at all.
that'd
And
be
then
tough.
last year yeah, but I don't know. Like I did enough recon, and I kind of knew like
I guess if you had enough
I feel
recon,
like
you would just know what a well executed lap feels like.
yeah, basically.
Yeah,
Like you should kind of know what that is anyway.
I
If
agree,
you're
but
like fighting for the win in the top of a competition.
sometimes there's like different elements on a track that could like be approached different ways where you're like not entirely sure. I mean, like look, most of the time when you feel like that, whatever way you do it, if both of them were well executed, they come out to the same time.
Or close enough, yeah.
Yeah, or close enough. It's like you execute it whatever way you think you'd be able to do more consistently, right? That's how that
I
plays
think
out most of the time.
yeah, the only I think I was just more in the realm of familiarity that I felt confident enough without it, where you're like a bunch of new tracks in a new car. I want this information because that's how I'm going to learn.
Exactly.
That's all I would say really.
Yep.
But oh shit! Oh, then the last year in the Porsche, I barely used. We had the timer in the car, but I never looked at it. It's all the way over here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then this year I was a little more aware of it, but then I realized like, especially in the dry with 300 tread tires, like the first lap and second lap in full being anywhere near the same time is like kind of a crapshoot anyway. So I found it not useful, but I was more aware of it as a tool.
The
I used it in the rain a little bit more,
oh,
kinda as
okay,
like a
I could see that.
motivator. It's like, oh, I'm
Oh,
close to that. If like
motivated.
in
That sounds
pit, it was like, oh,
dangerous.
I'm close to my dry times. I'm gonna get it. Yeah.
So actually, yeah, at Pitt when I went out and it was like and it was kind of wet, but I wasn't sure what the grip levels were going to be. When I went through, it was like during my second lap, I went through a corner and then saw I wasn't losing anything to my optimal. I went, it's basically dry grip out here. Like I can just go for it.
Yeah. I mean, seeing your guys' times from the grid, like the first group running within 2 or 3 seconds, I was like, "Oh, cool." I think I told that story though.
Yeah. But I thought, I literally, as I was coming off track, I went, Tom looked at those third laps and he knows that like it's basically dry. I was like, I knew you were in that Porsche, just like freaking like looking at live timing. I knew you were.
Yeah,
And even if you weren't, you would
absolutely.
have had like Salil like timing it and be like, this is what who so and so ran, and you would be like, cool, I know exactly what to do with that information. It's useful
Honestly,
information though.
it's super useful, and I didn't think about the luxury of having live timing that specific day because we only had live timing every other day. So those of you listening, like, uh, we only had it. There was one timing team that had the ability to do live timing and one that didn't, and it alternated. So the chances of that falling on that day for me to have that information, that was like so lucky.
Luckily
I
for
almost
me,
wonder if they should like not have it public with lap times.
because
But
it
having the lap times was kind of cool. It was like, oh, but I like seeing the Tesla run the same lap time 3 in a row on purpose versus other people like getting faster to catch up. That was cool.
the live timing definitely added to it. I wish they had it on all the days. I realized that there was constraints because it was just one dude that could do it, but they should
Yeah.
figure out how to make it two dudes that can do it.
Yeah.
Because it was super useful. I luckily, or maybe unluckily, because I know what lap times I ran. I really wish, because it ended up where every day Peter ran, we didn't have live timing, so I wouldn't know.
Not quite. He ran
We had live timing
there
at
would have been one day.
Hastings. We had live timing at Hastings.
Hedge.
Did we have it at Hedge?
Yeah, and Pit every other day.
Did we not have it at NCM?
I don't believe we did.
No, we didn't. Never mind. My theory is falling apart. So okay, so when we
What's
had
your
live,
theory anyway?
well, when I was gonna say, it was nice when you weren't the one driving to have the live timing because you knew exactly how like your co-driver was doing, and then so like when they come in, you can be like clapping like, yeah, you crushed it, or you're just like, hey, let's look at it. You know what I mean? Like, you know
Yep, yep.
exactly like what demeanor they're gonna be in as they come in because you don't want to like add to any misery, or but you do want to add to like excitement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. When we had timing at Hastings and we knew that we could see the times, and then the next morning at High Plains, Salil went out and there was no live timing. He came back in and he was expecting some reaction from me,
And
and
you're
I
like,
guess I wasn't even
oh.
thinking. And he's like, "You're not clapping. Was it that bad?" Like, no, 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 no. We don't know. We just don't know. So we both made sure to clap for each other the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, my last takeaway was a reminder of how unbelievably impatient I am moving around the world. And I'm like going to work on that because
You are really
Salil and I's
impatient.
biggest incompatibility is I'm incredibly impatient to like a massive flaw, and he's completely not impatient at all. He would rather just take his time. So I was reminded very freshly all the time for a week of how incredibly impatient I am.
And Catherine Legg is a monster in a pilot fit, or a Honda Pilot.
And a Honda Pilot,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, one lap was pretty cool, Tom. Should we
Super.
answer some emails and questions? We had some emails. I think I accidentally brought up the wrong thing.
Yeah, go for it.
So oh, hold on, I got to get to it. Oh, hold on, it's going quickly. Oh, it's making me verify, Tom.
Well, why don't you do the intro and I'll start the first one.
Emails. There we go.
Awesome. I'm gonna go back to the oldest one, which is from March 3rd, so we're 2 months behind.
Oh, geez.
This is from my friend Jasper Drangler, who I met pro racing 10 years ago almost. This is titled Sims. Hey guys, new to the podcast and enjoy catching up. I recently listening to AJ geek out about Sims. I have a story. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to play with this ship sim. It's a 360-degree simulator which allows you to add all kinds of factors, including submarines popping up unexpectedly for like a boat simulator. Ship captains who are wanting to be boat pilots for this particular waterway must pass the simulator before even being allowed to enter the pilot school. And he sent a picture that we'll put in the live chat. It looks really cool. Tom, see you at Daytona. Oh, great to see you at Daytona. I was like, that was forever ago. And good luck this year. If you're ever really desperate for a guest, let me know.
Are you putting in the chat? Because I can drop it in there right now.
Yeah, I was slow on. Oh, I did the wrong thing.
I got it.
Shoot. Yeah, thank you.
And then I'll click on it so it's on the video. Oh, that's so cool. All those like screens are like windows with like the pillars in them.
Yeah, is that a giant rubber duck?
Oh my god, it
I think
is.
it's a giant rubber duck. What is my screen showing right now? Am I streaming
It's just
the right thing?
it's just blank. Nope, you're streaming the wallpaper.
The logo now. Good. Okay. I just want to make sure I got back to that. So this is talking about the simulator for everything. He's like sailing a boat. It looks like a big boat
You know what? This winter
through a harbor of some kind.
we were invited to go do an airplane simulator and we freaking didn't, and we should hate ourselves for that.
I hope the opportunity is still there. We were gonna go. What was it? It was at Wright Pat Air Force Base. That would be so
I
cool.
forget where it was, but like we were all jazzed about it, and then we just like never found a weekend to do it. But we
Yeah,
should
I think
have.
we
It should have been a
dropped
priority.
the ball on that.
I think that I was thinking about it, Tom. I think that would be like a fun YouTube series where we like try all these different sims and different things. Like we do a golf sim and we do like a boat sim and a airplane sim and a skiing sim and like all these different sims, and like we just film it and then put together a video of us just being goobers trying to like figure out how to do the sim thing. I think that'd be super cool.
That would be so fun. I'd be down.
Okay.
So we'd have to do this boat sim. We could go to Jeremy's house and do his golf sim.
Yep. Yep.
We could go to the Wright Pat Air Force Base and fly planes.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, Andy's girlfriend Jamie, she knows a place to do horse simulators.
Yep. I'm down.
Dude, there's our first season right there, 4 episodes.
I'm down. I like this idea.
It would be interesting to have all the people who are experts in their own simulator try a driving simulator.
It would be.
That would be like the flip side too.
Yeah, we'll bring it with.
A travel sim. I've done worse. Well, that was cool. Thanks for emailing us that photo, Jasper. That's cool.
All right. And then hold on, I got to see if this is okay, this is not an email. Will Lyons just writes in and says, "Thank you guys for all that you do." He actually used to drive go-karts. Wait, he says with Tom's son in a league.
I think he means Joe.
Okay.
He might think I'm Joe. Well, I am Tom, but yeah, hello.
I'm like, wait a second, Tom, do you have a child?
We don't talk about that.
Is this person karting? There's
Yeah.
just like a secret like Tom clone like secretly training. He's like in Europe right now. Anyways, Will's just saying thank you for the show. Thank you, Will. We appreciate you. All right. Next email here is from how do I say that last name, Tom? Deech? Deech?
I think so.
Okay. Matthew Deech writes in, "Hello, fellow lizards. I've been sim racing and doing HPDEs for about 1.5 years now. And at the beginning of this year, this was from April 22nd. So not a month ago. So like, hey, that's pretty good, guys. At the beginning of this year, I was high enough up on the first peak of the Dunning-Kruger curve." Strategic pause. That I thought I was good enough to start some wheel-to-wheel sim racing. Unfortunately, when I made the switch from Assetto Corsa to R Factor 2, I rapidly plummeted into a pit of despair. I'm seconds off pace when qualifying, and when racing, I always struggle to have confidence on the brakes. I think my problem is rooted in not having consistent references and lacking the feel to tell me when I'm understeering due to too much brake pressure or not enough. I have no problem with braking confidence when I'm doing an HPDE, but in the sim, everything is such a blur and the details are so sparse that I find myself lacking in reference points. This causes me either to brake earlier than my opponent and giving them the position, or braking too late and flying into a tire wall. I'm really starting to get discouraged with sim driving since I'm getting lapped by most of the field on most of my races. I don't plan on letting this discouragement stop me because I know my lizard brain is going to continue racing whether I like it or not. Oh, he's a slave. But it would be nice to enjoys uh nice to start enjoying my hobby again.
Oh, oof.
So I think he did nail like probably what's part of the issue, which is the references. R Factor 2 is a pretty old simulator, so there's probably not a whole lot of detail to like be able to use for references. Um,
I don't know. Even the games I was playing 15 years ago were pretty high detail. So I like the number of things you have to pick from. It's not like you're driving in an open field because it's an old video game.
uh,
But
I, I I would
I think
also
your point's still right. Yeah. Go
yeah
ahead.
that or the FOV for like settings is just way off, so your sense of speed is way off. So you're having a lot tougher time than you would have otherwise to judge your sense of speed coming up to a corner. I think like once you get your FOV correct, then you'll have a better sense, especially since you have that real world experience. You have a better sense of when you should be hitting the brakes. So you won't be so reliant on references, or maybe you can pick out the references better. Because if your FOV is too large, the edge of your screen moves way faster than it should. So those references being detailed and really accurate on them is going to be much harder. Oh, Matthew's in here, I think.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hey,
I'm not
Matthew. Is
entirely
this you,
sure.
Matthew?
I'm not entirely sure, Matthew, how you do that. Because he asked how to adjust the FOV. I'm not entirely sure how to do that on R Factor 2, but I'm sure a quick Google or a YouTube would solve that issue.
The last part I was going to add, if you haven't played Sims Online, there's always a way to crack the code a little bit with like setup stuff and with like driving style to really break the physics of the game. And you might, not to give you like an out, but there may be some like setup stuff with the car you can do or something that like the alien people know how to do. As simple as like taking all the fuel out of the car and stuff just to make the car a little faster. That like you're swinging for the fences with a car that physically can't do it. That's the only other thing is if you can find any sort of like guide to R Factor 2 to tell you if there's a little base level like tricks you can do to go a little faster that don't involve like it sounds like you're onto the right thing, but just think about that too. Like if your reference point all of a sudden becomes all these people that are playing online on R Factor 2, I have to imagine there aren't that many people playing R Factor 2 like super leisurely, right? Because it's like such a weird old game. Like
I'm
if
not
you're
sure. I really haven't spent that much time with R Factor 2, but
I never played it, so but I have to imagine it's got like a following. It's not like people who are playing it are just like getting on it for the first time and screwing around because that's probably what more like iRacing would get you now in rookies.
or
Do you get what I'm going
or
for?
especially Assetto Corsa because it's such like a friendly intro to sim racing that I bet like Assetto Corsa grabs a lot more of like the intro people than R Factor ever would.
Yeah.
So that might
So
be part of the reason
just
why
like
you're having a different experience than you were on Assetto Corsa as well. Also, Assetto Corsa's online isn't terrible. Um,
true.
is there like an R Factor 2 league or something, Matt? There has to be. The other piece of advice that I would leave with this is if somebody's whooping your ass, uh ask them for help.
Go watch them.
Yeah, or go watch them. Like talk to that person. I remember when I first started going to Halo tournaments, I was getting my butt kicked. I'd go make friends with those people because I was going to learn so much from those people just being friendly to them and interacting with them that was going to help me get to whatever my goals were and my own performance goals that I had in mind. Go talk to them, ask them questions. They will most likely be willing to share that information. Um, for a couple of reasons, really. First, they're proud that they have that information to share. Two, somebody probably helped them with that information at some point, so this is a good way for them to pay it forward. Uh, and then three, they're probably a nice person. That's what I'm gonna go with. I want to believe everyone's nice on some level.
Yep.
There's regular races like in iRacing. What the heck? This is not the same R Factor 2 that I remember. I remember dabbling in that like before I started iRacing.
Yeah.
The
I
USF
never
on
played
Mid
that one.
Ohio was good. I just remember that. I was like, this feels like a car.
There you go. I only had R Factor and I used it for mods because it had so many mods back in the day. I could drive like anything I wanted. That's how I learned all these old racetracks or like random racetracks.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. I think this one will probably take the rest of the time, but I want to do it because We talked about Darian, and he just joined the live thing, so we're going to talk about him while he's here.
Okay. You gonna read? He
So
sent in 2 emails.
Yes, they kind of piggyback to each other. These are from May, and they are in response to me telling stories about Darian in episode 93. So if you need context to this, the short version was he's had kind of top level co-drivers in autocross and really struggled with that measuring stick being so blunt to him for more formative years of autocross. So first, I'd like to thank you for talking about me. Put a big smile on my face. You're welcome, dude. It's so funny that this got brought up because me and my girlfriend are currently dealing with this issue because she's consistently comparing herself to me after only autocrossing for 1 year. One of my biggest takeaways from having such an opportunity to co-drive with people like Tom and Robert Thorne, and the thing that has always stuck with me is the headspace and approach. Outside of being serious competitors, they're also having the most amount of fun. With a relaxed approach that I've incorporated into myself, these guys that I've incorporated that into my own approach. So these guys have put in the time and the effort with the quality of practice they needed with a smile on their face. And I'm blessed to be a part of that. So a follow-up question is, how do you keep a competitive advantage? Since I'm the topic of pre-winning, both of you guys have been on winning streaks. So what about post-winning? Interesting question.
That is, I think there's a, um, I don't know if there's necessarily a question in his first email.
No, but I like that
I like
that's
that
what he
he,
took away
yeah, I like that he chimed in.
because I've always said like I need to be having fun. I don't have any like scientific proof, but I always say like I drive better at events I have fun. So that's why I don't put like hard rules about being in bed at 8:30 or like make choices based on like not having fun at races because I'm there to have a good time. Even at the highest levels of pro racing that I got to do, I was still like making sure that I was having fun. And when it stopped being fun is when it sucked, even though I was like living my dream. So I don't think just saying you have to have fun is like a takeaway. You have to like set your goals around ways to have fun. You have to make sure you're surrounded with the right people, and you have to make sure that you're doing the events you want to do. Like it's not as simple as just saying you have fun, but it sounds like Darian, you found a way to do that with maybe doing it with your girlfriend and having a good time, like with the person you're doing it with, or something like that.
I think putting
Um,
yourself into a headspace where you're able to have fun, like, makes you more
oh
relaxed and open for information, which will lead
yes,
to a better performance, right? So if you're finding yourself not having fun, that is a side effect of being in the incorrect headspace for competition.
yeah, and also I know he changed cars to a car that's more reliable and easier to deal with. So like not having all
That
that
helps.
BS to deal with sounds like you're having more fun
Yeah,
and you're doing better for it.
that definitely helps.
Hon- Honestly, I
Okay.
think the actual question is you've been on winning streaks. How do you keep a competitive advantage? They're kind of there's two different questions to me, honestly, because winning is not ever a guarantee. You can never ever kind of like the first day of One Laps episodes. We said like anybody showing up expecting to win that event or any event is just a jackass. Like that's not how winning works. Winning is a result of good performance. So someone who's going on winning streaks is not focused necessarily on the winning. They may be motivated by it, but they're focused on maximizing their own performance. They're following their routines. They're following their practical things like reference points and preparation and like check sheets before they go on the track and
Yep.
stuff. And they're also mentally the most at ease and they're most focused because they've been so prepared and kind of know what they're in for. And that is the only thing you can do to set up to win. And sometimes you'll win without having done those things and it feels emptier. And sometimes you'll do all those things and you don't win and it still feels really good. So that aside, how do you keep a competitive advantage? That's a slightly different question, don't you think?
I so I it's I Tom, I love our podcast because I took this question differently. The
Oh,
first way you answered that, I think that was beautiful. But the to
oh,
keep um like to keep winning, um I don't think is I don't think it's that profound. I think like what's hard about winning and then to keep winning after that, the hard part of that is staying hungry. Is staying hungry for the amount of effort and preparation and the the focus that's required to put in a performance that is capable of a win, right? Um, and to
It's like how
stay,
luck is the intersection of opportunity and preparation.
yeah. So if you're constantly putting up performances that can get wins, then you did a good job, um, like staying hungry for it. Essentially, is kind of what I think. So, I mean, everyone's gonna be different about staying hungry to win. Um, for me, like one of the like psychopath things that I'll do is if I don't win, I go to the podium ceremony and I watch all my friends get celebrated for their achievement, and it that for me that makes me feel motivated to like find a way to be up there, right? Or like it could be solo nationals where it's like like this last year solo nationals, I was on the podium, I was on the third step, and I like made a point to be like look at that top step and be like, oh, that's the step I want to be on. It's not necessarily going to make me drive any better by wanting to be on that step, but by wanting it, it gives me like the hunger to put in the preparation and that will be needed to drive at a caliper where I actually put in a performance that awarded me that top step, essentially.
Yeah. Part of it for me is also uh, not overstaying your welcome in terms of what you've achieved, if that makes sense. I'll give an example. I don't know how to say that better. If you were to look at that top step, and next year you go to SS, this year you go to nationals, and you win a national championship in SSC, and you looked at that step, that to me is always a choice from that moment on. So you're at an intersection of continuing to try to stay where you are. The only thing at that point you have to do is defend, basically. Like you can't elevate the fact that you've won in that specific scenario. So you have an option to take the path into towards something new, or to kind of hold steady and try to defend that win, if that makes sense. So part of staying hungry for me is always taking the opportunity that that intersection presents and move towards something new. It was like I remember the moment I won my first national championship, the thing that I'd worked on for actively like 4 years and passively like 7. That to me was like intersection moment. Do I want to continue autocrossing and chasing this national championship thing in this specific discipline? Um, because that's the highest level that you have at this sport, or do I, try road racing? That was my perception of my
Yeah.
two options in that path, and that's what motivated me to chase the path of road racing. Because I said I don't want to be this. I don't want to be just trying to win national championships as my pinnacle like pursuit with motorsports. Does that make sense?
Or you were
So
like, cool, I
that's
did
a
this thing. Like, what else can I do?
correct. Well,
Yeah.
it was more like how much further can I go? Yeah, what more can I do? So
Yeah.
that helped me stay hungry when I look at those achievements as an intersection. The achievement is obviously incredible. Same with GLTC. It was like the option to race the same car under the same circumstances in the same series was there 100%. But do I want to do that again? Will it be as fulfilling? Can I actually do any better than we did this year? All of the answers to those are kind of no, and it motivated me to find something new. I haven't found it yet, but it's still like that intersection point of like, do I want to keep chasing what I've been working on, and then run the risk of overstaying my welcome and having that special thing become less motivating or less fun, or worst case scenario, like a turn off.
the and if you wanted to stay at the thing and defend it, um, I think you have to identify what the things were that led to your success and
Mhm.
keep focusing on those things. But then you also have to find the next little bits that will give you an advantage. There's no like in order to win consistently, there's no like I found the formula and now I just do this and just like wins just show up. Like you constantly
Correct.
have to be evolving as your competition evolves. Like you you just yeah, I think the best way to put it is you just have to stay hungry. Um every time you go in, you have to want to win as bad as you wanted to the first time you won.
Yep.
And so like, I think that's the hard part. Like once you're in a position where you know that you're capable of putting in performances that might net you a win, um, continually showing up with that amount of drive to put in that type of performance, that's the hard part. So, and
Yeah.
I think
And
everyone's a little different on that.
for sure. But the thing about being a benchmark is someone's eventually going to catch you.
Yeah.
Like there's scientific data forever that shows like no matter how good you are, if you are the benchmark and you're the person that everyone else is chasing, whether it's in physical sports or in video game speed running or in like industry, no matter what it
Literally
is, like
anything.
someone's going to catch you eventually. So if you're not constantly upping your benchmark or pivoting to like chase a new benchmark that you're not the benchmark yet, then you're going to lose that hunger.
Or you change the focus where you win so much, Tom, that you're now the enemy and you relish in it. You hate that so much. You're like, no. You're like, I
I don't
don't
want to
want
go
that at
there.
all.
I don't want to go there.
I don't mind if I'm winning so much where I have become an enemy, I will be your villain. I don't care. Like that sounds great to me. Sucks to suck, nerds. Nothing.
I don't have anything positive to say.
Okay.
The only way I add is not positive.
Okay. Holy moly,
The
this
rest of
is
these are pretty profound, so I feel like we should just wrap up with a shorter episode. What do you think?
ooh. Whoa. Hold on. Did we have any no mic questions that we can answer? Yeah, because some of those emails are pretty long.
That's a good point. Real quick. We're gonna get this
Let me look.
episode to an hour and a half somehow, listener.
Okay, so we got I feel like we've answered this one from Adam. Did we not answer this one from Adam on the very bottom of the pinned messages?
Reading it slowly.
Okay. I will entertain the people in the meantime.
Okay. I don't remember answering that.
Okay. I'll read it.
Okay.
Adam. I don't know Adam's last name because it's just his Discord name is that dude Adam. Tom and DJ, first off, thanks for the podcast. It was mentioned to me by a friend. I find your episodes very insightful and also easily relatable, which is what I find intriguing because I have 0 track experience in a car, but am, by your definition, a car guy.
Oh, hell yeah. Adam's my boy.
Is there part of either of you that wants to learn more about the technical or mechanical end of the sport, or are we strictly drivers? Maybe that's what makes your podcast so intriguing. I personally have an obsession with learning how things work or how to fix it or maintain it, then how to use it. Then how to use it. It's a full circle thing to me. I'm curious where you guys draw the line. Love your hair. Hope you win. I almost mixed it up, by the way. I almost said hope your hair and love you win.
See how hard my job is?
Those outros are
being a
freaking
co-host?
tough, dude. Oh,
okay.
Adam said that we're repeating the question.
Yeah, while you're reading it, he said that we were repeating it, but that's okay. Let's see if our answers have changed. I don't remember answering this question.
We're just re-rinsing content.
I said we're gonna get to an hour and a half somehow.
That's right. Okay,
I didn't say it would be good.
I think I remembered what I said about this, so that's why I was like, "Did we read this one before?"
What did you say?
I was saying I want to know enough about the car where I can where I can be a better race car driver because of it. But the nuances of like this trim level has this or that, or like a hood opens up and I'm like, wow, you got a different crankshaft and what comes, like none of that's gonna help me drive the car faster. So like the information that I seek is things where I can understand like, ooh, if we adjust this, like I can get it to pivot faster or be more stable in this or whatever. Or if I'm driving somebody's car and it's doing something wrong, then I can provide feedback where it's like, hey, you have a bad tune. Your new throttle body is causing like bad pickup on throttle. So like, figure that out and then the car will be much easier to drive. Stuff like that, right? Like, I don't know if that necessarily makes me like a car guy, quote unquote, but it makes me more valuable as a race car driver.
100% the same. I probably said we should go compare these answers and see if we're carbon copying.
Can somebody
You
splice
saying
them and put
exactly
them
what you
together?
think, and me being like, yes, I agree. Because like even general, what I find is like, okay, repair and maintenance, 100% not interested. Engineering, I'm like 50-50. So like when we were at Daytona and we had a bad wheel bearing, and I could like go around the banking once and be like, guys, there's a huge sound from the right front of the car. I think it's the wheel bearing. I'm not 100% sure. And they can diagnose it within 2 hours and like have it repaired. That's super fulfilling for me to understand that that's exactly what it was. I have the information, even though that's a repair and not engineering. And then when you level that up with a race engineer and you can say, you know, the car's a little tight in this type of corner, but it's free in this type of corner. So we need to hone in on why it's having this without upsetting the balance in this other type of corner. Like all of that is killer. I love having that knowledge and that information. What I found with the BRZ is if it's down to me even just doing the work, I would genuinely rather never drive a car again than have to like learn to work on a car. I hate it that much.
That's outrageous.
That's like why the BRZ videos ended where they ended.
You're
not planned because I had so little fun.
You're
that
lucky
I'm like,
you're good
that's
at
the
this
den.
driving thing, Tom. Because if you had to do the own wrenching, what would Tom do? Like if Tom lived in a different reality where like he had to do the wrenching on all the race cars that he's driven, like what would Tom's hobby be? Would it be music?
Probably. I don't think I would have ever stuck around in this sport. Genuinely, that's pathetic. It sounds so
and then
pathetic
the
to say
moment
that.
Tom had to tune his own piano, you'd been like, screw this.
Yeah,
I'm going to knitting. I'm going to
maybe.
I'm doing competitive putt-putt.
I'm overselling this a little because when it was up to me, I did do most of my own
I was
stuff.
gonna say you did do like stuff on the B-Spec car.
Yeah, I learned enough to like replace the axle when I was in a crash in the B-Spec car and like general maintenance. I was on that path long enough that I think I probably would have stuck with it with simple enough maybe. I don't really know. Maybe I'm just talking about out of a place of like privilege that I don't like working on cars and I don't have to, so I can say shit like that. I don't know. But having the knowledge to answer your question of engineering, to answer your question the second time, having the knowledge to like be a better race car driver is awesome.
All right. Do you want to go with this one from Die and then we'll call it an episode?
How long have we been going? I feel like we've been going for an hour and a half.
Tom, we've only been going for 45 minutes.
You're lying. We started at 6:07 or something.
I am like, we're at like an hour 20.
Yeah. Dice is like a big question too.
Is it? Okay, we can save it. You know what, Tom? We can end the podcast right now. You ready?
No, I'm just still reading this question to make sure it's what I think it is. Okay, it's not as big. No, it's a longer question, but it's not as big of a thinker.
It's not
you ready to go?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this is from our friend Dai Win. Hello, Dai. Hope California was fun. I came off a great year of 2023 in driving development, racing most of the GLTC races in my first gen BRZ with the K swap. I'm furthering my driver development in 2024 this year by trying to do more races in my regional NASA Texas races. Trying to do more races in my regional NASA Texas races. Okay, moving on. In my newly built 90s Acura Integra, which is front wheel drive and is set up to off throttle oversteer for car rotation. In the years before GLTC, I was racing a 90s Honda Civic, so I do have some front wheel drive experience. My first race of the year, my muscle memory went haywire when I started racing the Integra. I kept on feeling that there was something wrong with the car. It took some other people's opinions of driving it to say that the car felt okay for me to gain confidence in the car and get faster. For the upcoming GLTC races this year, I'll be back in my BRZ, and I'm a little apprehensive about reverting back to rear-wheel drive muscle memory. The car will have a new setup as well, so I feel like I'll be questioning if it's me or the car. I think both cars will have continued setup development through the year. The question is, how can I best adapt to two different styles of car to maximize competition at my highest level? I'm wanting to concentrate more on the BRZ GLTC car as the bigger field will develop me as better as a driver, but the regional NASA Texas races in my Integra to supplement my further driver development.
I think he has a good approach. Just like
I love the way you built
possible.
that. Yeah.
And then also the two different cars, so you can work on like the Integra is going to help with that speed of pivot. that we talked about earlier in the show, right? Because front wheel drive's it's really keen to have like a fast pivot, and you have like a large window to catch the pivot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that
Yep.
will come in handy. I would challenge Dai to say that he's potentially focusing on the wrong thing when driving the car. And what I mean by that is if he's focused on the tires and their interaction with the road, it really shouldn't matter which end of the car is like putting the power into the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with that because both vehicles are playing by the game of physics. Like the way the car solves its problems might be slightly different, but if you're focused, like to your point, on I don't know if would you say it the grip, or you say when you say you focus on the tires, focusing on the grip, like which end is losing grip or gaining grip, or what do you mean by that?
I'm meaning like okay, let me rephrase it. You are absolutely focused on the tires, uh, and how the weight of the car and what you're doing with the weight of the car is influencing the grip of those tires. To me, that's how all cars are, regardless of what tire it's on, what drive it is, where the engine is. It doesn't matter. It's at the end of the day, it's the tires on the pavement and the influence you have on those tires is how you move the weight around the car.
Yes, I like the way you said that. That makes more sense to me. Um, I came from front wheel drive mostly, and I can drive. I have driven everything now, pretty competitively, and I agree that I don't think front wheel drive has like a different rule book to it. I think people just get uncomfortable with the way a front wheel drive car puts the weight to the puts the grip to the ground because of how quickly they rotate off throttle more
Yeah.
than anything. That's all. So if you can more focus maybe on the weight, um, then where the weight is going, there is slight differences, but I don't want to make it about that. Like it's
Well, the way the shapes of the corners are slightly different, right? Like a front wheel drive car is going to have more of the turning before apex than a rear wheel drive car, right? So the pivot's going to
yep,
be more aggressive, but you have a larger window to catch the pivot, so like you can get away
correct.
with that. That's what's so much fun about front wheel drive that I didn't understand before I got the free race car, because I was like, well, it's a free race car, but like, dang it, it's front wheel drive. And then when I went actually to go drive it, I was like, oh my god, this thing is way more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Because of how aggressively you can have the thing pivoting in and how much you can get away with. I think the mix that Dai has right now between like a front wheel drive car and then his GLTC car and like jumping in between those, I think that is going to be a huge benefit to his driver development because he gets to get comfortable with that huge initial pivot that will be required to make speed in the Integra. Um, and then he can incorporate that into his rear wheel drive car. Obviously, the pivot won't be able to be as big because you don't have as much of a window to slow the pivot down and catch any like inaccuracies that happened on corner entry. But Dai will be more comfortable with how that car feels as it's like twisting around him as he's shifting that weight, like as that initial turn in for the corner.
My best like practical advice die would be probably it sounds like the thing that threw you off was the way the car felt, uh, like at your seat, the way the car felt around your hips, which tells me that DJ is correct and that you're focused maybe on the wrong thing. Like you're not driving the car is controlling you a little bit. So if you can gain that confidence back with the like knowing how that Integra felt, the best thing I could say is maybe watch a video of the car that you're going to race most recently,
Yeah.
so that you have try to like put yourself back in the car, even if you have to close your eyes and just listen to it. Put yourself back in the seat of what that car feels like, so that it doesn't surprise you the way it feels like at your butt and in your seat, around your hips, and in the hands.
Yeah.
And then you won't have that like lack of confidence where you have to have somebody else drive it to say that it's fine. You can just like kind of remember and refresh yourself so that you show up feeling a little bit more prepared for what the car is going to feel like. Because bouncing back and forth, I agree, is probably like the biggest challenge and the biggest thing that's going to set you up for success. So as long as you remove the negatives and that you're not just constantly bogged down in lack of confidence in what the car is supposed to feel like, quote unquote, then you'll be in a really good spot.
I think I really like the spot where you said as long as it doesn't bog you down, because if he's just jumping in between each car and he has no confidence, and by the time
Yeah.
he's starting to get confidence, he's jumped in the other car, then that's not really helping him. But if he can gain confidence in his ability to just like manipulate each car to whatever their strengths are, then I think that's really going to bolster his driving development.
Yeah, massive.
So cool. I enjoyed that one. Thank you for writing in.
Definitely. I can't wait to watch. Die was top 15 by the end of CMP.
Was he? Nice.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch more this year.
Also, that Integra, I think, caught on fire at some point. So, dang it.
It did, but I heard it wasn't that bad. I mean, hopefully it's not that
hopefully
bad.
it's back up and going, and Dai's doing his regional NASA Texas
Yeah.
races like he anticipated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
womp womp. Cars are the worst. All right, Tom. I will finally let you end the show.
What are you doing this week?
Air conditioner update. It was installed today, and it works. And now the house isn't humid. Let's go.
I thought you looked fresh.
You see how not sweaty I am?
Fresh and conditioned.
Let's go.
What are you doing this weekend?
So I was gonna go to Rev Up and do some coaching. I canceled on that. I'm gonna go autocrossing instead. I haven't autocrossed in a little while.
Where at?
I'm going to Pit Race on Saturday, and then I'm going to the IX Center, which is like 5 minutes from my house, on Sunday.
There's an autocross at Pit on Saturday?
Yeah. Why, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm going to be at Pit. I'm working I'm going to go hang out at the Auto Interest weekend.
Oh.
At Pit all weekend.
Oh, shit. We're going to be at the same place.
So maybe I can do both.
Yeah, probably.
I'm going to try to do both.
Okay. Want me to try to find you a ride? I'm sure we can find somebody that wants a Tom O'Gorman.
I'm going to follow up with the people who offered me the first time, because the first time we said I was going to go and then I didn't go, but I had offers. So I'm going to follow up with those people first.
That sounds
because they were generous enough to offer.
Tom's going to be at the autocross event. Maybe I'll bring the podcast equipment and we'll do like a mini episode of us at the same event.
I was going to say DJ's going to be at the track day. Maybe we could do an episode.
I didn't realize
Pit Race is still the place you go to autocross.
I didn't realize that. That's funny. We're just ending up at the same spot. You know what would be funny if we if we for some reason skip the like ending, like, hey, what you doing this weekend part, and then I was just there on Saturday and I just saw you and I'm like, Tom. It'd be like the Spider-Man meme. Like, what are you doing?
We're like Spider-Man.
What are you doing here?
Yeah. No, we can't start doing trackside episodes all the time, because then we're gonna have episodes like this where we have like barely anything to talk about.
No, that's fine. We'll just get it out of the way then. We'll just have shorter episodes, but more of them. Tom, my lizard brain got spiked on the amount of downloads we had this last week. Got to keep it going. This is how the lizard
per
works.
episode?
What's that?
It was more per episode or more for
It
the
was about the same per episode, but we did so many episodes that like when I got the statistics, I get like a weekly report. It was like 120% up. I'm like, yes, more of that.
That's awesome.
See,
what are you driving?
I'm driving a D Street GR86, but this time it has a sway bar and shocks, and it's not a completely stock car. So we'll see how it goes.
Because Peter modified it.
Yeah, because Peter was like, okay, hold on. I know what fixes this. Cha-ching. Actually, when he showed up last week, he had all the parts in his garage. He just like, I'll get around to it.
Yeah, I'm impressed. He did it in 2 weeks. Shit, how long would have that taken me? Yeah.
Tom would be crushed under a car somewhere, wiggling.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you're going to Auto Interest for the whole weekend?
Yeah, I'll be there both days.
Oh, fun.
Can't wait.
It will be fun.
It sounds like I might autocross too.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Perhaps. We'll see. You'll find out next week on the Lizard Brain podcast. Everyone, thanks for tuning in.
Yep. We appreciate it as always. I was thinking that whole outro of something clever to say and I didn't think of it. So I love your hair and I hope you win.